Here it comes. A swing and a smash to first by the diving Vaughn. Down the right field line. Kicks into the corner. Ramirez on his way to second. Head first slide. Safe and in to score is Jimenez. And another hustle double. Right over the bag at first. Now Hosey and Anderson square off. They're fighting. They're swinging. Down goes Anderson. Down goes Anderson. Ramirez went in with a head-first slide. Hosey never gets upset about anything. They came up chewing. Anderson squared off. Hosey decked him. It's a 5-1 Chicago lead, but everybody from the dugouts and the bullpens congregated around second base. You never see Jose Ramirez get upset like that.
On this episode of Crafting the Call, we're not just swinging. We're swinging for the fences. We're going Cooperstown with the Ford C. Frick Award winner. We're honoring Tom Hamilton. I'm Jesse Goldberg-Strassler, voice of the Lansing Lugnuts.
And I'm Josh Suchon with the Albuquerque Isotopes. I've never met Tom Hamilton, but what I've heard from people, he's not just a good guy. He is a great human being. He's a fabulous play-by-play announcer. I'd always knew about him, Jesse, a little bit, but it was that clip, Down Goes Anderson, that made me really know who he was and want to actively seek out to learn more about him and his background and to listen to his calls. And I'm so thrilled that he's the Frick Award winner because he went up through the minor leagues like you and I. He paid his dues in the minors. He got his shot at the big leagues, and he has been in Cleveland since 1990. A very deserving Frick Award winner, and I cannot wait for us to appreciate him further by looking back at his career.
Pitch, a swing and a long drive, deep left, way back, goal! Manny Ramirez has won it. Halfway up the bleachers and left. How about these Indians? They win it in 12 innings. In the air, Tony at third. And this season of dreams has become a reality. Cleveland, you will have an October to remember. And the Indians tonight have won their 86th game, the 1995 American League Central Division champs. The pitch, squeeze play, and the bunt is foul. Or is it? No, he missed it. Scoring is Grissom. The ball got away from Webster. Drive wins it. And the Indians have won in the most unlikely fashion you could ever imagine. The Indians have won it on a missed suicide squeeze. Delivers. Tommy drills one high and deep to center. Away, way, way back. Gone deep into the picnic plaza. And that might have even got out of the ballpark. Jim Thome has just left Jacobs Field onto Eagle Avenue. That will take 2 tape measures.
Lofton at first, Diaz at second, Cordero at third, fans on their feet. A swing and a ground ball, Squirrel down the right field line, into the corner. Here comes Cordero, here comes Diaz, here comes Lofton. Unbelievable! Unbelievable! Pitch.
Let's pause it there to get some early thoughts so far on what we've heard, Jesse.
One of the first things that occurred to me was how much he does not overtalk.
He just always seems like he's in control.
Yeah.
And then even if something is slightly off, like the squeeze, he's able to regain control immediately. There's no sense of panic in his voice. There's excitement, but he's not losing control of his voice, his words, even his pacing he does not lose when he's at these big moments.
He does something that I've never heard before. You've got a bases clearing extra base hit. You would say 1 run scores, 2 run scores. You'd say this player scores, this player scores. Here comes this player. Here comes this player. Here comes this player. John Miller would then say, they all score. He doesn't. It's a fine delivery for 3 runners scoring on a base hit.
We're going to get into, so that last clip that we just heard, a 3-run triple by Omar Vizquel, that was part of the comeback. And we're going to re-listen to a lot of his calls from the comeback. But let's continue with the next 5 from early in his career.
One gun line drive, base hit to left, up and around third. He's going to score the game winner. That's the one throw the fly. It's hard. The Indians with one of the most stunning comebacks in history. The Indians, dead and buried, down 12 in the 7th, have completed the miracle.
Hampner climbs back in. 3-2 the count, bases loaded. Here's the pitch. Swung on line drive, base hit right center. It's a game winner. Travis Hampner rips one up the alley in right center. The Indians go to New York, up 2 games to none. And a mob scene at first base. What a ball game. The next delivery. Swung on, hit high and deep to center. Revere on the run, looking up, it is gone! Can you believe it? A Hollywood script for Jim Thome. Number 604, a bomb to dead center. And here he comes. Jim Thome waves to the crowd. The runners stay. Pitch hit high, hit deep to left. Bay goes back. Track, roll, it is gone! Yan Gomes sets off another home plate mobbing. A game-winning 3-run homer to the bleachers in left. And one of the most incredible games you will ever see. The 1-1 pitch. Swinging a drive to deep right. Away back. Goal! Jason Giambi has done it for the 2nd time off the White Sox. A walk-off game winner. Mardi Gras in September in Cleveland. Here it comes. Swinging a long drive. Deep right. This ball. Goal! A walk-off grand slam for Nick Swisher. Oh, what a finish.
Okay, for everyone who ever puts together these types of highlights, please continue doing this. We love it, whether we're using them for crafting the call or just watching them on our own. But please stop using background music. It is totally unnecessary to have background music. The action in the words of the announcer is enough. That's all we want. No more background music.
If it's going to be Mardi Gras in September, I'm going to need to hear the crowd. I want the crowd. I want Hammy. I don't need anything else. I'm good.
Yes. Okay. Again, he's in control, but he has this booming voice, and he has the ability, Jesse. He elevates these moments, right? He doesn't do this, right? He layers and builds on these moments. There's a lot of different calls there where you can pinpoint when his brain says this is going to be a home run. But he doesn't go like that, right? He continues to elevate his call even once the brain has said this is going to be a home run. And I think that is a very difficult thing to do in the moment, because once the brain thinks home run, game winner, go nuts, it's not easy to get in those next words in a measured, powerful way to really nail those calls.
I think there's one exception, and I think it's Nick Swisher. And that's the one where we can really hear, here's the pitch. It's low and comfortable, and there's a smile. And then, whoom. But everything else, you said it. And because he's in control, because he knows what his voice is capable of, he is never breaking his voice. There's never any strain of him asking more of himself than his vocal cords can deliver. And so he can have fun with that. Or the way back, he can really play with it all the ways out there. And then when that ball is gone, what does he want to do now? because he is just living there, large, his hands waved, the crowd exulting below him as he's enjoying all of it. And that he connects it constantly to the crowd and how everybody is feeling, and what he uses to describe that kind of exhilaration is marvelous. He does not often repeat what he says. There's swing and a jive, but beyond that, he is constantly original.
When we did our episode on Dave Niehaus, he's another big, booming, over the top. His voice does strain. His voice strains a lot. I don't know how he continued to do it for so long. So it's different types of big voices, one that strains a lot, one that very, very, very rarely strains a lot. Both work really well for them and their personalities. And I bring up Dave Niehaus because of how hard it is to not have your voice strain when you get in those big moments.
Well, what I worried about with Dave is, what kind of damage is he doing? We've discussed Joe Buck and how Joe had to recover from his own vocal injuries. There are other broadcasters that we know who've injured themselves broadcasting. The classic to my mind is Red Barber, who I believe needed to go 3 weeks without talking in order to get his voice back from a broadcasting injury. This is hard. You do strain yourself. There's a lot of talking. And when you go big, how big can you go? Because you better not go too far. You don't want to metaphorically blow out your ACL. Or as a pitcher, what's the broadcast metaphor for Tommy John? Tom Hamilton knows himself. He knows where he can go. And because of that, it is such a joy seeing him go to his full power. It is, I don't know, it's a Aroldis Chapman throwing 103 over and over.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of that kind of building and measuring, I want to get to the next one we're going to get to is from 2001. And this is what I referenced to when we paused in the middle of those first 10 clips. This was the comeback in 2001. It's against the Seattle Mariners. This is Sunday Night Baseball. It was 14-2 at one point. And remember, this is the 2001 Seattle Mariners that won 116 games. It's the best Mariners team ever, one of the greatest regular season teams of all time. And it did not all come in one inning, but we're going to listen to how Tom Hamilton built and built and built as the drama unfolded of what Cleveland fans know as the comeback.
The 2-1. Swung on, hit high and deep to left. Back goes Martin. Martin at the wall, looking up. It's gone to the home run porch. Jim Thome with a second home run tonight, giving him a league-high 36. And the Tribe down 14-6. And for Jim Thome, that is multi-homer game number 4 this year.
Brandon got nicked by the pitch. Nance to first.
Cordova with a drive into deep left field. This ball is gone to the bleachers. Marty Cordova with a 2-run homer to the bleachers and left. And it's a 14-8 game in the 8th inning. Cordova's 13th homer, giving him 53 RBIs, and the Indians with 4 home runs tonight.
A swing and a ground ball back up the middle behind second. Glove by Ian. The shortstop throws to first to get Cordero. The pitch to Diaz. Swung on, hit slowly to third. Charged by Bell. Gloves. Throws. Not in time. Kenny sends a line drive. Back up the middle by Ian into center. Base hit Lofton. Here comes Lou Piniella. He comes waving towards the bullpen. The Skill looping liner toward the right field line is going to drop a fair ball. That is going to score Diaz. Lofton into third. The Skill into second. Cabrera swinging and missing. Ball popping away. Here comes Lofton. Lampkins throw. Lofton slides. He's out at the plate. The 1-2. A swing and a miss. Inning is over. And here comes Lou Piniella. He's already made the move to Jeff Nelson. Amazing how many fans have hung around on a late Sunday night. The Indians down to their last strike. Full count on Cordero. Nelson is ready. And the payoff pitch. A little high. And walks him to load the bases. Two down to the ninth. Stride trailing 14-9. Diaz at the plate with a 3-2 count. Right-hander against right-hander. Nelson delivers.
A swing and a line drive, base hit to left. Taubensee scores. Cordova scores. Cordero stops at second.
Oh, boy.
Diaz with his third straight hit.
14-11, the Tribe trails, and the tying run will come to the plate in Kenny Lofton. And Lou Piniella is going to his closer, Kaz Sasaki.
Sasaki with the same situation delivers. A swing and a line drive, base hit to left. Cordero stops at third. Lofton comes through. How about that?
Lofton at first, Diaz at second, Cordero at third, fans on their feet. Listen to the crowd, those that remain. The payoff pitch. A swing and a ground ball toward first, down the right field line, into the corner. Here comes Cordero, here comes Diaz, here comes Lofton. Unbelievable! Unbelievable! Swung on shot toward third, Bell has it. Plants, throws, and just in time, he almost pulled Sprague off the bag. We've got extra innings. We go to the bottom of the 11th inning, and this game's still tied at 14. Einar Diaz leads off, sends one high in the air. Shortstop, Carlos Guillen, makes the one-handed catch, one pitch, one out. Lines a single to center. Lofton's fourth hit tonight. And the winning run at first with one out in the 11th. The pitch. The skill broken bat line drive single into right. Lofton hits the bag at second. He'll hold right there.
Cabrera 1 for 4, 2-run single. The pitch. Swung on line drive, base hit to left. Lofton around third. He's going to score the game winner. McLemore's throw the slide. Not in time. The Indians with one of the most stunning comebacks in team history. Lofton being carried off the field and now about to be mobbed is Holbert Cabrera. The Indians dead and buried, down 12 in the 7th, have completed the miracle. We said in the night, it may take divine intervention. There'll be a lot of people wondering.
I want to start with how gleeful Tom was every time Piniella went to the bullpen. Oh, he could see it.
He's going to his closer sound interesting.
That's what I mean. Each time that was the thing that was building. Sure, there were home runs. There were run-scoring base hits. Kenny Lofton's all over the bases. But the real thing that built to me was each parade of reliever coming in.
So people are new to crafting the call. What Jesse and I like to do is look back on whether it's a broadcaster like Hammy, whether it's a play, whether it's a series, and we kind of nitpick sometimes. And there's actually a few things that we can nitpick here down the stretch of those calls. When the game is tied, I'm sure that eventually he said the game was tied, but he was so blown away at this 3-run triple by Omar Vizquel that you don't get this immediate, the game is tied, what the score is in that moment.
You don't even get that it's a triple.
Yeah. On the game winner, it's a broken bat, which he doesn't say. And then he does say he's going to score the game winner. And it was a pretty close play at the plate. I am personally not a fan of saying he's gonna blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm a bigger fan of just describing it. And so I think that's a case of, look, the team's down 14-12. Now they've tied it. Now it's the 11th inning, and your heart starts to take over what words come out of your mouth because, again, he's halfway between third and home on what was a fairly close play. And that's when Hammy says he's going to score the game winner.
There's such vibes throughout this. The vibes are amazing. And then describing what they're doing to celebrate. They're going to mob Holbert Cabrera next. So seeing that, but not actually describing what is actually taking place. I want to get back to there's constant commenting on the crowd. He is consistently checking in with the stadium.
Some of the other just descriptions I wrote down, at one point he said that Lofton hits the bag at second. I just thought that was such a great description that you don't hear it very often. A lot of times you'll just hear someone say he stops at second or he takes the turn, something like that, hits the bag. That phrase, hits the bag, that it triggers something in my brain. So, ooh, yeah, he's at second. Okay. And then he has stopped there. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed just the how about that. The way that he says, how about that, just lends itself to that guy on the radio is having the time of his life.
Which he is. He very much is. And let me get back to vocal health.
Yeah.
His voice sounds in fine form this entire time. There is no sound of any kind of strain. I would argue that Hammy is bringing the heat at 98 to 100 miles an hour with ease the entire time.
Yeah. Super fun. Okay, so that was 2001. So again, Hamilton started in 1990, right? So we had the glory years of Cleveland there in the 90s, where they had all those great teams, never quite won a World Series, but were just always a big part of October, all these huge moments. And then you have some lean years. It's no longer a sellout every night at Jacobs Field. And then we get to 2016, the ultimate matchup between two teams who have gone an extremely long time without winning a World Series. Let's get to one of the signature moments of that World Series.
2 outs, Guyer at second. 6-4, Cubs leading the Indians. Game 7 of what has been a classic World Series between two teams that have longed for that championship more years than any other two franchises in baseball. 68 years for the Indians, 108 years for the Cubs. Now the pitch. Swung on, line to deep left field. It is gone! You should see the celebration out of the Indians' third base dugout. Rajai Davis, a bullet, 2-run homer down the left field line, clearing the 19-foot wall. We are tied at 6.
Jesse, what do you think of the phrase, you should see the celebration?
That's how he broke his own silence, that he has called the home run. He is now letting the moment sink in, and that he looks down and he is overcome by what he is seeing in the dugout and amongst all the Cleveland players. And that is what he chooses to share with his audience. I like it.
This is a much different home run call than what his traditional home run call. And that's because you don't know it, right? It's a low line drive. Is it going to get above this 19-foot wall, as he beautifully reminded us there as part of the clip too? And so, yeah, I feel like those are some of those home run calls that are actually really difficult. I feel like the low line drive down the lines and then the fly balls to center field where you can't quite judge them yet because you don't have the angle. Those are the ones that are most difficult for me to initially get a read on what's going to happen here.
Mark McGuire's number 62. In this case, as he mentions, that wall is 19 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a line drive going toward a tall wall that there was no way he could have expected this kind of contact with Davis choking up to the best of his ability against Aroldis Chapman. And he starts off with swung on, which it puts him a little bit back. So the pitch swung on, and now he's got to jump. But is it going to go? And gone. It is one of the most unexpected moments in baseball history. And it's also one of those footnotes. There are those classic, incredible, highlight, unforgettable moments that happen in games that the team then loses, because the Cubs go on to win this game and World Series following the rain delay. And yet, Rajai Davis homering off of Aroldis Chapman to tie the game in the bottom of the 8th, that's electrifying.
Not to get into the discussion about the golden batter rule, but this is the ultimate of why you would not want the golden batter. You would not send Rajai Davis to the plate to face Aroldis Chapman in this situation. But that is the beauty of baseball, is that there are 9 hitters in your lineup and they must bat. And that's what leads to these moments that we live on in our memories forever, because of just the improbable nature that Rajai Davis homers off Aroldis Chapman in this moment. And so I don't know exactly how this was edited, because, Jesse, you and I have talked about how often do you say these certain things? How many times are you going to say throughout a 7-game series that it's been 68 years for the Indians and it's been 108 years for the Cubs, right? Yes. You want to make sure that you keep saying that on a somewhat regular basis. You don't want to say it over and over again. If it turns out that he just happened to be setting the tone right before the home run, then that is just incredible, I guess, luck. But also, I do think, Jesse, there's certain times in the game where you just gotta feel a moment, and it just goes for the quick reset of what's happening here. And sometimes you get lucky, and there's a game-tying home run right after you've given us the big picture reset of what's happening. And sometimes it's a 13-pitch at bat that ends up with a weak ground out to second. And like, all right, we'll have to use that line again sometime later in the broadcast.
The way that Hammy described that, these two franchises' histories, reminded me of John Miller. John Miller's broadcast, especially now, latter-day John Miller, all of his words feel so thoughtful as he's coming to terms with, what should the next word that I use be? What should I say? You can hear his mind working. And I could hear Tom Hamilton's mind working over the course of a long, thoughtful sentence. But I'm so used to hearing the Hammy explosion, where it all just comes out, and pause and explosion, and pause and explosion. So to go from thoughtfulness into uproar is wild.
Yeah, it's really well done. It's fantastic. Okay, let's move on to another type of home run. We've done an episode about this specific play and how challenging this specific play is.
A swing and a drive to deep right. Saunders at the wall. It hits off the top of the wall. Naquin's around second. He's on his way to third. He'll try to score. Here's the throw. Not in time. Usain Naquin flying around the bases.
That's the most delirious that I've heard Hammy so far.
And he thinks it's gone, right?
Yes.
You can tell. He gets into his call, but then he's been doing this a long time, so he realizes, it might not be gone. And he immediately recovers. Again, I go back to he's in control, right? He thought it was going to be a home run. He starts to go into the call. He realizes that it might not be. And so he's able to do what? Tells us where the right fielder is.
Yes.
Now he's immediately back in control of this call.
Usain Naquin. It's so good.
It's a tough name to say.
Well, Tyler Naquin, trying to get at Naquin in a hurry. And the first thing that comes to his mind is Usain Bolt and going, yes, I just watched Naquin race around the bases like the greatest sprinter of all time. Let's go. That's what I appreciate is, and this is throughout, there's that sense of such great humor that goes through Tom Hamilton's broadcasts. And we heard the same thing with Harry Callis. This is someone who is loving sitting in that chair and watching this.
And those references don't come to your mind unless you just enjoy life. You enjoy watching other sports. You enjoy reading. You enjoy just having an overall great appreciation for life, for other athletes, for history. And that's how those things come to your mind. You can't script those. At least you better not be. If so, then it's going to sound terrible. And it's the byproduct of, you never know what's going to happen in a game, and you never know what words might help you describe this very unique, unusual thing.
I think, just to go back to this, because we saw Dave Niehaus have the same problem. Catchphrase, "Oh, not gone." That is the ultimate in putting the broadcaster on his toes.
Mm-hmm.
Rajai Davis was the opposite. Is it going to be a home run or not? Oh, it is. Okay. Is this one going to be a homer? Yeah. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Ugh, delightful.
All right. Well, also, speaking of humor, let's get to another clip of Hammy in which your humor, your personality can shine through when basically nothing's happening.
There's a squirrel out on the infield. And unfortunately for the Indians, that squirrel represents probably as much activity as the Indians have had on the base paths today. That little guy now is coming down the third base line. He's heading for home. Oh, he's got a quick first step. He's going to go behind the umpire. Even he says, "I don't like you." He's heading for where? No one's getting near him. It could be the foam coming out of his mouth and the snarl that he's presenting.
How does he get in the building?
And the squirrel's trying to jump up and climb the backstop. CB Buckner yanks his mask off and says, "You're out of here." He has thrown the squirrel out of the game. They open the gate. The squirrel says, "Ha!" He comes back towards CB Buckner. He's going to get in the last couple of words. Now he's moving to his left. Back up the third base line. He's feels like he may have missed third, so he's going to go back, touch it, and come back home. Nobody is going out to try to get this squirrel. I mean, it is not a mountain lion. But everybody is backing away from this squirrel as if this were Simba and he hasn't eaten in 4 months. And we're just going to stand here and watch the squirrel? Somebody has to do something. Paul Molitor's coming out of the dugout saying, "Come on, have somebody get the squirrel off the field so we can play ball." CB Buckner says, "Have you had your rabies shots? I'm not going near that thing." And now the squirrel is down the first base line, darting toward the Twins' dugout. I have no idea why there isn't something being done, though, to get this squirrel out of here. And the squirrel is now between the mound and home plate. And Brandon Kankey, the head of the grounds crew, is out there talking to Field and Culberth, says, I'm not touching that thing. 4-1, Twins lead the Indians. And for Indians fans, this is about the most they've had to get excited about this weekend because Minnesota Twins pitching has been so dominant, holding the Indians to 1 run in the 2 ball games, and that 1 run coming on a wild pitch. By the way, the squirrel is down the third base line heading for left. Grounds crew is now chasing it. This ought to be something.
Yeah, if they can funnel them to the elephant doors, I think they're in business.
Bugger now is making some moves. Now it's down by the grandstand down the left field line. And this is where you got to be careful. That thing comes up. It did. It jumped into the seats. Well, free T-shirt day here today, and one lucky fan's going to be able to take home Bucky the squirrel.
Josh, have you ever had the opportunity to do play-by-play of wildlife?
Not wildlife. I've had some dogs that delay the action a little bit. You know, there's a Las Vegas used to have Finn the bat dog, and sometimes Finn would would forget his job and want to be out on the field a little bit longer. I don't think I've ever had anything else where it's a lengthy delay due to any type of animal. How about you?
We had a skunk delay.
Really?
Yes.
Tell us more.
It woke up in the bottom of the 9th inning. It had been sleeping under the tarp, and it stole second, and then it headed out into the outfield, and we were trying to herd it out to the left center gate. Learned that our center fielder, Andrew Guillat, very brave man, did well. Cordial. The skunk and Andrew got along great, herding it to the gate where he passed the baton off to the grounds crew in Dayton. They and the skunk did not get along. So the skunk just kept on moving into the left field corner. And that's when they brought out the hamper. That's when the skunk went out to the bioweapon and things escalated. And long story short, there were tomato bats and the skunk left and Dayton walked us off. But what I come back to is Kevin Harlan calling an animal on the field.
Mm-hmm.
In general, my experience is he does outright play-by-play.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love is that Hammy is combining some play-by-play with constant editorializing. He is inserting himself at every opportunity, and it's a joy. You never forget. This is Tom Hamilton commenting, and he's going to insert some humor. He's going to see the bigger picture and say, we still do have a baseball game. He's going to poke fun at his own guys and go, oh, we haven't had that kind of activity around the bases. There's a lot of work that he does around every single corner here.
Throughout that clip, you can feel his brain working. And it's, we have an animal on the field. And it's like, okay, I'm going to have some fun with this. And then you realize, okay, the animal did not quickly depart the field. Tried to, didn't. All right, I'm going to have some more fun with this. And then it's, no one is trying to get rid of this animal. He's smart enough to give us a reset.
Yes.
Right. This is the score. This is the inning. I think it's really easy in those times. And again, I'm always try to put myself in that spot. For me, I need to be better at this. I just think, all right, it's going to be a delay. Let me plug tomorrow's game. Let me plug the next firework night. Let me get in this live read that I've been forgetting to, right? So I start to think of what else do I need to say in this broadcast that I haven't said? Instead of just totally leaning into the absurdity, the fun, the ridiculousness that this game is being delayed by a squirrel. And we're going to poke fun that this is the most action on the bases. And even saying do you have your rabies shots? I don't have my rabies shots, right?
Maybe it's the foam coming out of its mouth.
Just even named it.
Right? T-shirt giveaway and a lucky fan here today. You integrate it all because the broadcaster's role is when the game isn't entertaining, you are the entertainer. Mm-hmm. And Tom Hamilton does not forget that.
I'll never forget freshman year of high school. I'm taking introduction to journalism, right? And I remember one of the main things that the high school advisor said was, you go to a basketball game and it doesn't get played because the gym burned down due to a fire. You don't come back and say there was no game. You write the story about the gym burning down because of the fire, right? And so similar thing. Your job is to describe a baseball game. There's no baseball that's taking place. Describe in detail, have fun with why there is not a baseball game that is taking place because of this squirrel, and name him if you can.
Yeah, this is where I can take a shot at AI because there are all these AI game recaps. No. Be a human being. What actually happened tonight? What mattered tonight? And go from there. I love that he's incorporating Paul Molitor. Mm-hmm. When Molitor comes out there, hey, CB Buckner, what's going on? Why aren't we playing baseball right now? I love your notion of you can hear his brain working, what to get to, what to talk about, how to frame this. What's the real important thing? Where's the squirrel going now? How should we react to this? He is the voice of the fan, but he's very much also his own voice. This is Hammy taking in the moment and enjoying it, but critiquing it, all of those different things. When you tune in to a Tom Hamilton broadcasted game, I don't think you ever forget that you were listening to Hammy.
Mm-hmm. All right. Time for 2024. I said that Tom Hamilton was the breakout star of the postseason. If you are a fan of the Guardians, then you're like, what do you mean? There's no breakout. He's been magnificent for a really long time. And I know that he has been, but I think for a lot of people, maybe you heard a few clips on MLB Network, with their quick pitch, But nowadays, Jesse, we immediately get these calls that are posted on social media, and we get all 5, 6, 7, 8 different versions of these dramatic calls from the postseason. And I think that this was in October where if you didn't know who Tom Hamilton was before, you absolutely, positively knew it, especially after this game.
Swung out and hammered. High, deep to left. Away out of here. Bedlam in Cleveland. Swung on, hit high, hit deep to left. There she goes. How about that? A walk-off, 2-run home run to the bleachers and left by David Fry.
One of the things that I appreciate is that for the most part, Tom Hamilton has a home run call, but it's not the exact same, right? There's these subtle differences. Sometimes it's swing and a drive. Sometimes it's swung on and hammered. Sometimes it's swung on and hit high. Sometimes it's way back. Sometimes it's way back. Sometimes it's gone. Sometimes it's there she goes. There's the tentacles of what his home run call is, but then he's in the moment to frame it a little bit differently as the moment needs it.
Because he's mindful. Like, this goes right back to his brain, how active he is as a broadcaster, that he's not just voice, that he's not just putting it into automatic. And you hear during David Fry's walk-off, how in control is he to go from the call of the home run to draw back, and then the subtle punch of David Fry. Every bit of that, he's got control of the situation and he's riding above it. All the while, he is ejecting his own dose of adrenaline into the situation, to the point where if you're a Guardians fan, you love the moment and you also want to hear how Hammy loved the moment.
Bedlam in Cleveland. What a phrase.
Well, he's finger on the pulse of the stadium. He goes right to the fans. And it's not a phrase that we've heard him use before, but he is someone who he knows what's going on with his people, and he's checking in with his people. And I can picture him calling the home run, sitting back, looking upon the scene, and those are the words that come to mind.
We've done episodes where we've talked about catchphrases and how a catchphrase is used in these moments, whatever these moments are. And I don't think he has like one major catchphrase, but as we've listened here for 40-something minutes, we'll hear him say things like, "Can you believe it?"
Yes.
Or he'll say, "How about that?"
Yes.
And how he says, "How about that?" is slightly different in the moment. And what we just heard in that last clip, he does say, "How about that?" And I'm just picturing, right, that his smile is like this as he says, "How about that?" And I think that's I think that's where a variety of tweaks to a catchphrase just being in the moment really works.
So the broadcaster that he grew up listening to on a Wisconsin dairy farm was Earl Gillespie. We have not studied Earl, but of the broadcasters that we have studied, we can hear echoes in different ones of them in Tom Hamilton's call. "How about that?" is a classic baseball catchphrase. It's Mel Allen. The honesty in truth telling is Marty Brennaman. The over-the-topness with everything going on, it's Harry Carey. These are tropes in baseball that broadcasters bring forward. That Tom Hamilton can employ all of these different things: intelligence, bombastic voice, truth telling when need to, with utter joy in the moment. He's got a lot of ingredients that he cooks up in his pot, and it all, when it's baked and we get to see the final result, it all equals only him, because he's one of a kind.
Isn't it interesting too, how you mentioned how about that? It was Mel Allen's what made that call famous, that phrase famous. You don't hear, other than the words, you don't hear Mel Allen the way that Tom Hamilton says, how about that? It sounds like two different phrases because of their voice, but also just the energy, the emphasis on certain parts of those three words. It sounds totally different than Mel Allen.
Yes. Which that lets you know it's more than words.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much that Tom Hamilton, like, we could just study his voice. We could study what notes he uses. What words does he punch? What does he do? There's so much that he does with his voice to turn his voice into an instrument to work for him that other broadcasters, me, Dave Niehaus, you can keep on going, do not truly understand the full capability of what they can do, or perhaps we are physically unable to do, but he is physically able to do it.
When you watch a broadcaster, and I mean like literally, I'm sure, have you been inside a booth as someone else is broadcasting and you watch them? So I know that I learn a lot when I like see when do they get their notes, where do their eyes going, monitor, field, notebook, scorebook, whatever it is that they're looking up. And there's some announcers, someone like Vin Scully, I don't need to be in the booth and watch Vin to learn from Vin. Tom Hamilton is someone who I would absolutely love to sit next to and watch his body language, his expression. We now see like these split cameras where you see the announcer and then you also see the clip, and so, we've seen these with Dave Sims, and I love them with Dave Sims, right? Where he's pausing, he's kind of licking his lips, he's straightening his glasses, making sure the microphone's right there. You can see his brain working about what phrase he's going to say next. And I learn a lot from Dave Sims in those moments. And Tom Hamilton is one that I would love to sit next to watch exactly how his body language and how he just uses all of that along with this microphone instrument to deliver what he does each night.
If you ask someone, what's the difference between someone broadcasting a baseball game, football game, hockey game, basketball game? In general, people say that, well, a baseball broadcaster, you pull it back. Football, you're going to be much more on the edge of your seat, or you're going to be standing the whole time. Baseball's not that way. Tom Hamilton does edge of the seat baseball broadcasting in a sense. I think that a hammy call of a football game or a hammy call of a big basketball game or of a hockey game would be electric.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congratulations, Tom Hamilton, 2025 Frick Award winner. I love it when local broadcasters get these honors. It's cool when the national announcers get these honors, but I really enjoy it even more when a local longtime announcer gets these types of honors. And so enjoy the full year of buildup before Cooperstown to Tom Hamilton. And Jesse, this has been super fun studying him.
The blessing of Cleveland, where you had that transition, Herb Score to Tom Hamilton. And when you grow up in Cleveland, you know who that voice is going to be when you turn on the radio. And the Hammy and Rosie show. It's been marvelous, highly deserving. It's been wonderful to see all the different outpourings of joy for him. And let me give you this one quote from the Guardians.com, the MLB.com article, a quote that he gave. He said, "I learned a valuable lesson from Herb Score. Your club's record or how the season is going should never have any bearing on that night's broadcast. There are people whose whole day is highlighted by a ball game. Ellipsis. You owe those people your very best." And I think from that philosophy, Hammy delivered.
Mm-hmm.
Josh, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
For Josh Suchon, voice of the Albuquerque Isotopes, I'm Jesse Goldberg-Strassler with the Lansing Lugnuts. This is Crafting the Call.